So let's run through the squad real quick. So you mentioned Yelena, right?
Yeah.
Played by Florence Pugh. She made her debut in Black Widow. She's also been in the Hawkeye show. Mm-hmm. She is Natasha Romanoff's sister figure. They're not real sisters. They were raised as sisters. She was trained in the Red Room like Natasha.
Which is why they're sister figures.
Yes. Yep. I mean, they grew up together. And then in Black Widow, they do one of the things that they are looking to do is destroy the Red Room program, because this is that,
right.
They're basically stealing kids and turning them into assassins,
right.
women. And then in the show Hawkeye, Val sends her to kill Clint. So the show, you seen Hawkeye or no? No. There's actually a really good show. Fisk is in it. This is where we first meet the girl from Echo, and then Yelena shows up on Val's orders to kill Clint, and they have a pretty emotional fight. It was a pretty cool scene, and then she's trying to kill him because I think it's in the end of Black Widow. It's either in Black Widow or Hawkeye, where Yelena was, during the snap, she was one of the people that disappeared, right? The blip. So there's a scene where she's in the bathroom washing her hands at like a friend's house, and then she disappears, and then 5 years, and then she comes right back, and it's been 5 years, and she's all fucking traumatized, and she's like, I got to find Natasha. So she had no idea that her sister, sacrificed herself, which then Clint tells her when they're fighting. It's a pretty cool scene. So she basically spares him, like she fucks him up, like she could have killed him, and then she kind of last seen walking away from Clint in that movie or in that show. So then you got your boy Bucky Barnes, which I'm excited to see him in this. Like, I love what they've done with this character,
right?
And he's almost been overshadowed by everything else going on with this. The trailers, like he's barely in them. I hope he has a good major role in this. He made his debut in Captain America: First Avenger. He was actually Steve's kind of protector when he was young, when he was small and weak, right? He was in The Winter Soldier. This is a character, you talk about a character who's been handled well,
right? With
a great story. I mean, to go from, and here, what's the key here, Adrian? A lot of his story, where'd they get that from?
The comic?
Yeah, the comics. You see a fucking trend here or what?
But why would they? Let me think about this question. Why would they keep him pretty much straight to the comics, but then they want to change all of this other dynamic stuff?
I don't know. They won't have the answer for that. Maybe. I don't know. It's and like I said, one of the best characters. I don't think anyone disputes that. I mean, if there's anyone out there who's like, I just can't fucking stand Bucky and the Winter Soldier, let us know, because I don't think I've never heard anyone say that.
I mean, they handle this character so well. I never even heard of Bucky.
Really?
In the comics before then. I wasn't really a big Captain America, so I didn't go down that route. But so I never really heard of Bucky until the movie.
Okay. But
they've literally handled, so you basically got two best friends growing up in the pits of New York, basically. They joined the military under two completely different circumstances, and they both end up basically superheroes.
Yeah.
And in the end, the way it's settled now, Cap is dead or retired or severely old.
Yep.
And Buck is basically doing is political.
He's a politician,
right?
Yeah. Which I don't know if you caught this in the last trailer. Sounds like he ain't a politician no more.
Right.
Val said something about, that was a real quick run at council or whatever.
So that doesn't mean he can't show up in the suit every once in a while,
right,
to give his advice.
There you go. But it makes sense as why he's now, because that's what I wondered. I'm like, wait a minute, he's a politician. What the hell's he doing with the Thunderbolts? But something must have happened. He got the boot, and here he is back to what he knows, right?
Hey,
But he was, and then in the Winter Soldier, he went from Steve's best friend in Captain America, First Avenger. We thought he was killed, fell off the train or whatever.
Right.
And then in the Winter Soldier, he's now the villain. They portrayed him fucking amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people glaze that movie a little too much. Like, it's probably one of the best movies in the MCU, but they're like, that's the best one. Like, slow down, bro. Relax. Then in Civil War, we kind of see his redemption, right? But we also find out about a lot of fucked up shit. He killed Tony's parents.
Right.
Like, dude, that moment, that that was insane to see play out on screen, where you have Cap defending his friend, and he knew that Bucky killed Tony's parents the whole time. Yep. Now, Tony's pissed. It's his parents. I get it. But he was brainwashed. Like, dude, it's really – I mean, that story was crafted so well.
It was. So Cap not only knew that his friend killed Tony's parents, and then Tony didn't know that Cap knew, and then his person he's working side by side with, actually he wasn't working side by, they were after him initially, but then eventually they started working side by side. Yeah. So it was like two things he didn't know about this person, but Cap knew both of them all the time.
Yeah.
And that was like the betrayal, I think.
Correct.
More than anything else.
Yep. And so you could see both sides, because at that point they were almost working together again, because Zemo had set them all up, and then once he found that out, it was a wrap. He was in Infinity War towards the end, fighting in Wakanda, because that was actually after Civil War. Cap brought him to Wakanda to get his head fixed. Dude. Fucking not, that's what they should do with Kanye West. Bring him to Wakanda, let them get inside that head a little bit, But anyways, so he came kind of back to the Avengers in Infinity War. He was in Endgame. We saw a whole different story with him in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We actually see him go back and kind of try to make a lot of things he did right. Like, he went to a lot of the people he hurt. When he was under mind control. We see him talking to a therapist and all this stuff, trying to get this right. Because you imagine knowing that you were imagine that dude waking up one day and going, dude, I've been mind controlled for 30 years. I killed like 200 people and had no control over it. I think I'll fuck you up a little bit.
I mean, if he was T'Challa. We're gonna nuke Wakanda.
Right?
Wow.
So, anyways, last we saw him was he showed up briefly in Captain America: Brave New World, like you said, as a politician or whatnot, and really just to kind of be there for Sam, because he's in a lot of ways he helped Sam become the new Captain America. Like, he was side by side with him in that show. Like I said, he made amends for the past, last scene in that show. So I'm interested to see him come back in the fold. Like, I've always been a huge fan of his character. Where is that scene that we saw in the trailer where Sentry just rips his fucking arm off like it's a paper straw?
Right.
Then you got your boy John Walker, U.S. agent, who we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Psycho boy.
Dude. This was the moment you're like, holy shit, they're getting real adult with this. When he killed the dude with Cap shield in broad daylight. Like, just, here you go. Now, he's a bad guy, so I guess that's okay, right?
Sure.
But he was originally appointed the new Captain America after Steve Rogers retired. They brought the Captain America as almost like a government military position again. And then the last time we seen him was he was suited up. He was recruited by Valentina. So she's going to be there, their version of Cap. So last time we saw him was in that Falcon Winter Soldier show.
No, she's going to be the Nick Fury version.
Yes.
Valentina.
No, I'm saying he's going to be her version of Cap.
Got it.
And then you got your boy, Red Guardian, bro. Fat Red Guardian. We saw his debut in Black Widow. So you get to see kind of how he goes from being the real Red Guardian to this fat fucking wannabe.
Right.
So you do see that. I think that's probably why I don't have as much of an issue with this version as you do. He's basically Russia's answer to Captain America.
See, that's why that's the issue right there.
What?
Come on, dude. I mean, you've never seen this guy not fit his uniform, and then he shows up on big screen as this. I mean, I understand retired.
Yeah.
I understand, you haven't fought in 50 years or whatever, but the body, nah.
All right. Well, hey, if you watch Black Widow before you see Thunderbolts, we'll see if you still feel that way next week.
He's still the same way in Thunderbolts.
All right. He's a father figure, kind of, to these two girls. And I mean, he's goofy, he's big, he's still a pretty badass fighter. And he spent years locked up after his glory days, so that's kind of why he ended up where he is. Last time we saw him, he actually was helping Yelena and the others free the Black Widows. So he turned to good towards the end. Adrian.
Wait a minute, the Black Widows? Is there a Black Widow Corps too?
Of course. Yes, they're going to take on the Thor Corps. Then you got your girl Ghost, Ava Starr, played by Hannah John Kamen. Everyone's going to have 3 names nowadays, dude. Anyways, debuted in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yep. Now, I didn't know much about Ghost in the comics, so I'm pretty sure this is a gender swap, whatever. But again, this is one where I didn't really care because I didn't know shit about Ghost. Did you know much about Ghost prior to this?
No, not really. Well, the Ghost I knew was Iron Man character.
Okay.
So, and definitely gender swapped.
Got
it. But you're right. Didn't know much about him, so there's really no effect.
Right. Like if you gender swap Spider-Man and still call him Spider-Man, we gotta have a problem.
Right.
But this one, whatever. In this movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, she was a victim of a quantum accident, and it caused her to phase in and out of reality. Mm-hmm. She was working with S.H.I.E.L.D. prior to going rogue, and she wanted to harness quantum energy to stabilize her condition, and which is pretty much what the Van Dynes helped her achieve at the end of that movie.
But wasn't the Ghost I thought in the comics the Ghost, it was the suit that gave him the power.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the web out of the wrist kind of a
exactly.
swap.
They changed the gender, they changed everything, they changed the power. Which we have seen a lot in the MCU where powers have been adjusted for screen. Sometimes it makes sense because, like, you've pointed this out a lot. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt Franklin Richards because of his power set. Right. You could draw whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see how they capture that on screen. Right. So sometimes I think they simplify powers to be able to tell that story better. But we saw her at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then she vanished during the blip years. She's kind of been off the grid, so who knows how she gets back in the fold. And then the last member of this group is the Taskmaster. This is another one that was gender swapped. This is Antonia Dracov. Her debut was in Black Widow. Now, she's pretty badass. She is revealed to be Dracov's daughter, mind controlled and experimented on. She has photographic reflexes, can perfectly copy any fighting style. And the last she was seen was being rescued with the other freed Black Widows at the end of the movie. So, and then Sentry, you did a hidden gem on Sentry a few weeks back.
Meth Boy.
He's making his debut in Thunderbolts. In the comics, he is insanely powerful. Mm-hmm. Basically, Superman on steroids.
Correct.
Extremely unstable. He's got this alter ego, the Void. Now, in the MCU, the rumor is he's going to be created or unleashed by shady government experiments, probably Val, and he hasn't been last seen anywhere because he's debuting in this show, or in this movie. I'm looking forward to seeing Sentry because, like I said this a couple weeks back here, dude, I'm not a Superman fan. Mm-hmm. I've learned that at almost 40 years old, Adrian, I've learned that I am not a fucking Superman fan. He's boring. He's fucking boring.
Yeah.
But Sentry sounds pretty cool.
Of course.
He's a meth head. Dude, a meth head with Superman powers?
Hey.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do you power set? Is Sentry more powerful than Superman?
I would say yes because Superman's limitations can affect his power set.
Okay.
I think if they were to arm wrestle, their arms would never move. But as the sun goes down and Superman's battery,
sun's getting low.
Right, sun's getting low.
Got it.
I think
And if he hits that meth while they're fighting, it's
rap.
It's a wrap, bro. Absolutely. So, dude, I'm looking forward to this movie. There's a couple new trailers that dropped, but I'm at this point, Adrian, I'm not watching anything else. I just want to go see the movie.
Right.
I don't want anything, because what they'll do, like, right before the movie, if you remember with Deadpool and Wolverine, this is where they spoiled some, like, cameos.
Right.
Like, they spoiled Laura, X-23.
Yep.
It was, like, the week before. I don't need to – I'm going. Mm-hmm. I don't need to see shit else. So, Kevin, you guys, stop putting them out. Stop. Knock it off. Anyways, funny thing about this movie, though, this has been kind of in the works for a while. Back in 2014, James Gunn he directed Guardians of the Galaxy. He expressed interest in making a movie based on the Thunderbolts. Kevin Feige said it was a possibility based on the success of the Guardians, but by May of 21, Gunn was no longer interested, and he jumped ship. He went to DC, and then he did the DC film, The Suicide Squad, and he said because that team was similar to the concept of the Thunderbolts, he no longer had interest in the Thunderbolts. That
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But also based on what he did with that movie, I'm glad he no longer had interest in the Thunderbolts.
Right.
You know, hey, I love James Gunn. He's awesome, but not that movie. Awesome.
Love's a strong word.
He's tolerable.
Yep.
And there was some speculation that the Thunderbolts would be introduced back in 2019, and that was around the time Zemo showed back up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So there were some rumors there, and then because Valentina was introduced, so it's something that's been in the works for a while. It's just when we think that there's no plan. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they plan out everything. Sometimes they just like, hey, let's incorporate this. But notice all these characters in Thunderbolts were set up in past movies, and briefly, like Ghost, like you just said, shit, I probably got to watch Black Widow before I watch this.
Right.
Not saying that was their plan from day one, but there's more of a plan here than what we know.
Yeah, but all that stuff makes sense though.
Right.
You don't want to give a cameo to an unknown. And have that cameo be 15 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Sprinkle them in there a little bit, and then, slowly introduce, and then maybe have them give them that cameo moment.
Yep.
Or if they're worthy, give them their own movie.
Right. Absolutely. And we talked about this a few weeks back. Florence Pugh kind of described this as a independent A24 assassin movie with Marvel characters. And a lot of the early reviews, I have not seen a negative review about this movie yet. A lot of early reviews were saying that it has a whole different feel compared to any other MCU movie we've had. So all in all, it sounds like it's going to be a good time. There's also a couple post-credit scenes. I've not read because I don't want to know what they are, but there's one scene that now it could be glaze, Adrian. It could be glaze.
And for those like me that don't know what glaze is,
embellishment, overhype, you're sweating that man, back in our days, like, yo, why are you sweating them?
Got you.
So glaze is like, you're too much, dude. Back up.
Right.
There's a lot of LeBron glazers out there. We call them LeGlazers.
Okay.
Yes.
That's stupid. But so why can't we just say you're embellished? Why can't we just use like real words? I'm just saying.
Can't do it. Anyways, it could be glaze, right? But it remains to be seen. So coming this week, we will all find out. But, the glaze about the post-credit scene, it could be the best one ever in the MCU, allegedly. So we'll see.
Wait a minute. About the post-credit scene?
Yeah, they were glazing the post-credit scene, dude.
There's a best in the universe post-credit scene?
There's always a best, Adrian.
Oh, come on, man.
Now, I hear your point of view, but let's be honest, some credit scenes suck.
Oh, well,
like you sit there and wait, and you're like, really? It's just a guy at the hot dog stand punching himself in the face, Doctor Strange? Really? That's what I fucking waited for? That's what I waited for. Right?
There's that.
I mean, and then you had like at the end of, I think it was Winter Soldier, where the end credit scene was the guy with the scepter. I forget his name, but he was running experiments on Wanda and Quicksilver. When they were in like captivity or whatever.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I guess there's levels to it, dude. You had a good one.
Sure.
You had a fucking atrocity.
I mean, but sounds like we're going toward a rotten apple of post-credit scenes. There's going to be like a whole credit category, post-credit scenes, rotten apple.
Worst
score,
ever, yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Getting a Tulip Award or some shit.
A Razzie. But anyway, by the next time you see us on Only Comics, we're going to give you our thoughts on this movie. I'm hoping it's good, dude. I'm pulling for it,